Hello, I'm Kabalamat and welcome to episode 28 of Rule the Waves 2 Let's Play Japan. Looking at the map, we're at war with Britain and we have invaded Hong Kong, which is here, and we've also invaded this one here, which I think is, this colony is Wei Hai Wei, I believe, yes, it's Wei Hai Wei. So we're invading Wei Hai Wei and Hong Kong. Can we invade another British colony to force them to capitulate? I think we could invade Singapore. Singapore would be very useful because it's a choke point in Southeast Asia. So let's invade Singapore. Okay, and let's see our disposition of forces. The English have got quite a lot of forces in Northeast Asia. They've got 4 battleships and 6 destroyers, whereas we've got 4 battleships and 3 aircraft carriers. Here we've got 4 battleships and 4 aircraft carriers. I'm going to move one of our aircraft carriers from Southeast Asia to Northeast Asia. I'll keep everything else where it is. I'll move the Zuikaku to Northeast Asia. And while I'm at it, I'm going to have a look at our air groups. So looking at these aircraft carriers, they've all got 3 fighter groups, 1 torpedo bomber and 3 dive bombers. I think it would make sense for them to have more dive bombers. I think dive bombers are better than torpedo bombers, so I'm going to change all these fighters to dive bombers. Right, well that's that done. Now we're spending a large amount of money on our naval aircraft, so I'm going to reduce the number of aircraft we've got somehow. Now we need to have the ones at Pontiac and San Jacques because we're invading Singapore and they'll be useful there. But we probably don't need to have as many as we've actually got at Takao. So let's reduce the ones we've got at Takao. We've got medium bombers, flying boats, fighters and dive bombers. Well, the flying boats we don't really need because we've got medium bombers, so let's disband them. And do we need medium bombers and dive bombers at the same time? I think it would be nice to have just one or the other. Looking at our aircraft types, our medium bombers have got a range of 1173 and our dive bombers have got a much lower range than that. So I'm going to get rid of the dive bombers from there. So let's go to Takao again, Takao, dive bombers, and we'll get rid of those. Disband. And what else can we do? We need all the aircraft on our aircraft carriers, and I don't know what this is doing. Something. I'll just disband that as well. And Sasebo's only got 4, so we don't really care about that. Ballypapan's got 20. That's quite a lot. Should we get rid of some of those? We could probably get rid of the fighters. Disband. Pontiac we want to keep. Takao we've already done. San Jacques, that's okay. Well, we could reduce those fighters, change number to 6. So he's not got as many. And we could change these from flying boats to medium bombers. Tanhoa, these are right. Tsingtao, we probably really need those because that's quite useful for Wei Hai Wei. So I think we're going to keep those at the moment. Wakanai, we're not really doing anything in Wakanai. Let's have a look what we've got in Wakanai. If we look, Wakanai's got airships, which we can't cancel that. But Hakodate has got some air force, so I'm going to get rid of that because we don't need it anymore. So I'm just going to scrap all of those. Disband and disband, and that should reduce our naval aircraft a bit. We've got quite a tight budget, so we really have to take a lot of care about that sort of thing. Okay, looking at our raiders, this Raider 2 is damaged, so I'm going to move him to Northeast Asia so that he can get repaired. Do we have any other ships that are damaged? No, we don't. We seem to be doing okay. We've got loads of ships in trade protection. So that's not a problem. So let's play the next move. Small engagement at Way Highway. Accept. British decline battle. Very sensible of them. Convoy attack. British decline battle. We have finished construction of an airbase in Laotung Peninsula. Yes. 6 submarines commissioned. Our raider is damaged. Research efforts in submarines are helped. Fleet tactics. Oh, and that reminds me, I need to have a look at our aircraft to see what we can make better. New British torpedo bomb. It looks strikingly the same as the Italian one. Fighting continues in Hong Kong. Japanese raider has been interned in a neutral port due to lack of fuel. And we're winning the trade war. It's sunk 19 merchants, so that's good. Right, so let's have a look at our aircraft types. So it looks like our torpedo bombers and dive bombers are very out of date. So I'm going to do torpedo bombers first. So a torpedo bomber, the most important thing is, I think, range and then bomb load. And then for dive bomber, I think it's probably going to be, I don't know, bomb load and speed, or maybe bomb load and range. We'll see. We'll worry about that when it happens. Okay, so let's play the next move. Small engagement in Hong Kong. So we've got 4 battleships. They've got in the area. They've only got 2 heavy cruisers. Well, I think we can beat them. Attack enemy ships in general. And let's see what we've got. We've got a battleship, the Shori. And we've also got 4 destroyers. So the Shori has got 6 15-inch guns and 6-inch and 4-inch guns. It's also got torpedo tubes. It's got an advanced director, so it's not a bad ship at all. Our destroyers are all HA class Hatsuseis, so they've all got 12 torpedo tubes, so they're quite powerful as well. And let's start the game. Or let's start the battle rather. I'm going to we can't increase the speed of that yet. Right, we can increase the speed now to squadron max. Let's see if our reports say anything. No, they don't. We can look at the search pattern, and that suggests that the enemy are going to be round about here somewhere, which is what we might expect anyway. Let's cancel that, and so we're going to move it here, set for force, and let's keep moving. Okay. Well, we don't seem to be finding the British anywhere. Let's move this way and see what happens. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of these battles where nothing happens. So that's now night time. Let's move him back, see if we can find the British here now. And doesn't look like anything's happening. Unknown radar contact. Ha! Just as I said nothing was happening. Okay. Right, so we've got a radar contact. Okay, so I'm going to move my destroyers in to investigate. They can go that way. He's got at least 2 ships, maybe 3. And they seem to be moving into port, which I don't want to allow to happen. So my destroyers will move towards them, and my battleship will also move towards them and keep a little bit of a distance. He's got 2 KEs, okay. So they can be easily destroyed by my destroyers. Oh, he's also got a UI here, so what's going to happen? This battleship will attack that UI there, that unidentified ship, while my destroyers can go for these KEs. Which seem to have both been sunk now, or at least I've sunk one of them. Okay, that can go there now as well. And this ship here will go towards his ship, whatever it is, which is a TR. So that's not going to present much resistance either. And that's the end of the battle. So we sunk all their ships and we lost nothing ourselves. So that's not a particularly big or important battle, but it is a small step to our final victory. Japanese minor victory. Katori is in the yard of engine problems. And the enemy has sounded out about a negotiated peace with us gaining disputed border areas and some of their colonies. These terms sound like a good basis for peace negotiations. Peace and victory. Now, we can get 4 points here, so we probably want to get ones that are fairly close to what we've got. So we've got Weihai Wei, and we're not going to get Hong Kong. Fuck. That's annoying, you know, because we were very close to getting Hong Kong there. Oh well, if they're not going to let us get Hong Kong, then we can't get Hong Kong, can we? I'll just get Weihai Wei and Fiji then. Right, so now we're at peace. The first thing we need to do is reduce our budget. So let's look at our ships, and we're going to move them all back to Northeast Asia. So that's a lot of our ships put back into Northeast Asia. This, the Taizen Maru, we didn't use that in a single battle during the last war, so it's pretty useless, so we're just going to scrap that. Ship scrap for 126. Now let's have a look at our air groups. All of these are going to be placed in reserve, and that's improved our budget somewhat. All of these submarines that we're building, they can all go in halt, so that's again increased our budget. We're still in deficit. A lot of these ships will be finished soon, and we're going to put a lot of ships in reserves, so that will improve our budget even more. What have we got on intelligence? We'll reduce our intelligence to nothing, so that saves a bit of money as well. MTB squadron, 2 MTB squadrons, they're good. Wolfpack tactics, bomb and torpedo, CIC, another torpedo bomber. Study of enemy aircraft losses. So we shot down 639, most were shot down by fighters, and of the ones shot down by AA, it's mostly heavy AA that did the job. So we probably want to concentrate on that sort of AA. So we've now got a positive balance, which is good, and we'll be able to recommence building the Yamatichi fairly soon. Now let's have a look at these battleships. Our old battleships are all, in fact everything about except for the 2 most modern ones, are going to be put in either in reserve or in mothballs. So let's put that in reserve. Turkey, we need to put some stuff on foreign stations because of this. So we'll put the UNEBI on foreign stations. That makes foreign stations fine. And okay, so that's given us quite a lot of money. Myoko can be put in mothballs. Matori can be kept active, as is Yamato and Mutsu. Actually, I might put Mutsu in reserve as well. And let's have a look at these ships now. All our CVLs will be put in reserve, mothballs rather. And of these, I'm going to put 2 in mothballs and 1 in reserve. And of our destroyers, I'm going to put a lot of them, except for the Hatsuse class, which are the modern ones. They can all go into reserve, so that's going to save a bit of money. Look, that's quite a lot of savings there. The Yamatichi we're going to resume construction of, and what else can we do? Let's have a look at our cruisers. The Raiders can go into mothballs. The Chiyoda can go into reserve, and you see most of these cruisers are They're fairly, light cruisers all seem to be quite old. Okay, then that can't be put in reserve. Okay, this Agano can go in reserve as well. Okay, so that's given us quite a nice balance. We seem to be doing okay as far as the balance is concerned, so let's play the next move. We're having a temporary setback in figuring the concept of improved electro-optical director. Now, Russia. We should send a diplomatic note in the strongest possible language, because fuck Russia. And if the Russians want another war against us, we can beat them again. If we look at the other nations, we've beaten the Germans, we've beaten the British, we've beaten the French, we've beaten the Russians. We haven't fought either the Americans or the Italians. Now what normally happens is I end up not fighting Italy as Japan, because Italy and Japan don't really have any conflicting interests, so why would they fight? The only people I haven't fought are the Americans. The Americans are very tough nut to crack because they've got a big budget. They've got 7 battleships to our 9, but theirs are bigger. They've got 5 battle cruisers to our 1 and 1 building, but theirs look a lot bigger, and they seem to be building quite a lot of them as well. Let's have a look. Yeah, they've got 62,000 ton battle cruisers with 9 16-inch guns. So they're very similar to the historical Iowas. They're very lowly armoured. They've only got an 11-inch belt, which is not very much for a 62,000 ton ship. Probably because they've put everything into speed, but that seems to be quite a weak ship for that displacement. Looking at their most modern battleship, it's a 78,000 ton Colorado with 9 20-inch guns. That's quite an impressive ship. It's well armed with big guns and a thick belt, so that would be quite a hard ship to crack, and it's also got lots of torpedo tubes. Yeah, I wouldn't really want to go up against that. It would probably take me quite a few of my ships to go up against it. Even their old Ohio, that's 24,000 tons, but it's got a respectable armament of 8 14-inch guns. It's very slow mined, but apart from that, it's quite a decent ship. Looking at their aircraft carriers, see, these have got not very many aircraft. They've got 2 very big aircraft carriers, the Bunker Hill and the Intrepid, each with 96 or 97 aircraft. If I was to beat them, I would want to build more aircraft carriers. Anyway, let's play the next move. Temporary setback on electro-optical directors. Bomb and torpedo again. So looking at the map, the country we're most likely to want to fight now is either the Americans because of these possessions here, or the British because of these possessions here. Probably the best people to fight would be the Americans to get Korea off them. So I think I'm going to aim my strategy now at fighting the Americans. So what I want is, looking at the almanac, is I'm quite low on destroyers. I've only got 43. What normally happens in battles is I tend to lose quite a lot of destroyers early on against their battle fleet. I need destroyers. I've only got 12 light cruisers. I maybe get some anti-aircraft light cruisers, and maybe after that I can get some more aircraft carriers or light aircraft carriers. So let's start off by building some destroyers. I'll have a look at my Dekasuze design, and it seems to be pretty much ideal as it is. We'll put another anti-aircraft gun on it, so that's maxed out its anti-aircraft armament. It's got 8 5-inch guns and 10 torpedo tubes. So I'm going to call that we'll call that the Deca B, because it's a modified version of the Dekasuze. So that's our new destroyer class, and we're also going to have a new class of light cruisers, which are going to be anti-aircraft cruisers. So the Izumi class anti-aircraft cruisers will have a very heavy armament of 16 5-inch guns, and they'll also have quite a lot of anti-aircraft guns, and they've got 8 torpedo tubes. So I'm going to start building a few of them. Okay. And what else can we build? We're going to be building some aircraft carriers, but I'm going to get these ships all building, which will take some time. And then by the time they finish building, certainly the destroyers, then the Yamatichi will also have built, and then I will be in a position to decide on my future builds. So that's all for this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next episode. And as always, if you like my channel, then hit the like button and subscribe.